Hello and welcome to the UIAA Ice Climbing Continental Cup. We're in France, Chambry at Vanoise to be specific, down an incredibly beautiful ice valley, and we're here to find a winner out of 8 men and 8 women. My name is Matt Groom, I'm your commentator for tonight, and we've been in this valley for the last couple of days for the Youth World Championships, and it has been an incredible series of climbing days, of course, watching the youngest climbers compete. So we're going to have a look at some of the results in a second, and we'll let you know who is competing in the competition here today. Now, this is the current results for the standings for the Continental Cup. Annetta in the lead at the moment, although she has done an extra event in the USA yesterday, in fact, so bear that in mind when you're looking at these results. Of course, we're trying to crown a winner, travelling across the world trying to do that, as we look at the men's standings as they go. William Morris joined me in a commentary out today, in fact, starting very early in the morning, and it was super cold. So let's have a look at the starting list for the athletes, shall we? There's our ice tower in the background there. It's waiting for the athletes to come out. Ice and dry tooling, and the men and women's routes will go up that tower, finishing at the top. And in fact, we are straight away underway for the women. Lena Beck is there as she pulls on and gets us going here tonight in the finals. And if you're new to ice climbing, well, don't worry, I'm going to take you through all of the rules. Lena Beck, very talented athlete. She was competing in the youth, in fact, the other day. It's one of the ones to make it through from that youth competition into this senior side of things. And a good start from her, straight away into a side pull. Yeah, so I said I'd go through the rules. The basics are pretty simple. The athletes start at the bottom of the wall. They climb to the top. Along the way, they have to clip all of the quick draws that hang off the wall in sequence. To get a top, you have to clip the final clip draw and match your tools on the last hold. So that's the basics. Don't worry, I will go through specifics later on. But Lorena here, the young athlete, off to a good start. She's just 18, kicking into the wall. And nice and steady through these first couple of moves. You don't want to rush it. She's already got a silver medal in speed in this valley. Has Lorena. She'll be looking to try to add to that, but she is up against some seasoned competitors. A lot of World Cup climbers here this evening competing. Good, solid hook with that axe. Upgrading the hands, changing the grip in order to get the next clip. And the athletes kick into the wall itself as she whacks in a fig four to gain a little bit of height onto the next hold. Yeah, the athletes kick into the wood itself, as you can see there. And I was chatting to some of the Netherlands team before we started, and they were saying due to the slightly warmer conditions here this evening, that wood is actually a little bit softer, so a bit easier for the athletes. But of course, the sun dropping beneath the horizon has meant that temperatures will plummet over the next couple of hours, so I would imagine that wood is going to harden up as things progress. So Lorena Beck reaching up into that side pull style hold, making sure of it. There'll be a little hole, a divot in that blue hold. into the reverse grip here. A variety of different reasons why the athletes will use a reverse grip. Oh, and a little tiny slip and a kick over to the left in order to keep herself on. And we'll chat more about reverse grips when we see them. But right now, a standard grip on that ice tool. And there is the wood she's been kicking into. You can see the holes left from the athletes before. Another fig four, getting even more height, stretching up, locking that axe into the hole. And she is starting to approach the roof to this climbing wall. 7 her current score on the bottom left of your screen. And that scoreboard will update as the athletes climb, so you at home can get an idea of who's currently winning and who needs to improve their score in order to get onto our podium here this evening. A nice wrap with the left axe for Lorena, biting that axe in order to make the swap. And a little moment to shake here, things getting far steeper as she progresses up this route. In a minute she'll be upside down. Right now she's not. And using that moment in order to rest. Now, if you're just joining me, do say hello on the chat. There's a live chat going on Instagram. Sorry, Instagram? What am I talking about? YouTube. So you can say hello, let me know where you're watching from, and we have some regulars I can see joining us already. Hello to Anita. Hello to Jan Havel. So Lorena is doing well so far. These volumes bolted onto the wall in order to create a little bit more 3D surface for the athletes to climb in. That's a good hook from Lorena. She makes her way through. A bite of the ice axe, of course, the best way in order to swap this. And Lorena, for the first time here, with a little bit of a hesitation, she goes up to the high Steinpool. Needs to put pressure on the cheeks of the axe here that press into the wall. You can imagine for you physics masters out there, that depends how you hold that axe to how secure it feels in that Steinpool. But generally, those Steinpools are an undercling if you're coming from a rock climbing background. Pretty secure. And as we can see, Lorraine takes the opportunity to shake out for a second. It's very steep from here on. Ignoring the ice on the right, she could theoretically kick into that ice if she wanted to, but it kind of isn't really en route. It looks like she's inside of the ice from that shot, but in fact the ice to the right of that plywood wall. High move now, way above her head. Hello to everyone who's joining me on the chat as well. Millie Voice watching, George Mayett from the UK as well, and Matthew from the USA. Awesome. Great to have people from around the world joining us. Now Lorraine needs to launch left here across this roof, and you can see how steep things are getting at this point. Fig four across, then a fig, another fig four, and knocking off the zone marker there. That won't matter, she won't care about that. Kicking in and a big swing and a drop down, just holding this, legs wildly kicking out here. She bumps that axe. I have no idea how she's still on the wall here. Incredible moment, but surely that must have burnt her out a little bit. Can't clip at the moment, needs to extend those arms. And you can see shaking out that right hand, trying to get out some of the pump. And then dragging the rope up and under. That was a heck of a recovery from Lena Beck. And now for the first time touching ice. Some of you might be a little surprised about how little ice there is at this level of competition, and I'll let you know why that is in a bit. But she does get an opportunity to get those picks a little bit wet. She won't be we were trying to discuss yesterday exactly what you call this, but picking into the axe, hitting the ice basically. She'll be hooking as much as possible. And you can see it's a fairly short section of ice here, just the corner really. And this clip, difficult. She's having to drag it across. This isn't a belaying issue, it's just the rope drag from across that wall, and a slightly awkward position that she is clipping in here. She's made it work though, shaking out on one of the ledges. And you can see that's the hook I was talking about earlier. She wiggles that axe into a hole. It's either been pre-drilled by the setters, sometimes left by athletes going before, or it's just a hole in the ice, one of the things. And Lena Beck now is kicking left. So Lorena reaching across, kind of an undercling side hook and a big swing down, just managing to hold that, feet kicking back into the wall there. Lena Beck making it work a couple of moments along the way. A couple of scary moments along the way for her, but she's still on the wall and she's still looking okay up there. No sign of too much pump, although now as she leans horizontal back on the wall, shakes those arms out, perhaps kicking in. And you can see just how steep this section of wall is here. Those quick draws hanging down. And Lorena will milk this rest for all she's worth here for this last section. She'll know the setters would have put something a little bit mean at the top of this wall. And you can see a big move up to another Stein pull here. Shaking out, trying to get something back into those arms. Time, of course, will be ticking down all the time here. The athletes do have a limit on this route, so you can't hang around forever. It's another big reach up and a miss. And she will be able to recover when she drops down. But, of course, every big move that she makes up towards that next Stein pull will be taking something out of her. Up again, this time locks it in. Cheeks of the axe pressing against the wall. I can't believe that Lena Beck is still going here after that early slip. But this is a dodgy sideboard. She does fall. I'm not sure if she was timed out or if she fell in that moment. But Lena Beck, 24 is her score. Back down to the icy ground. Okay, well, I have a co-commentator here in the commentary box. So could you introduce yourselves for everyone listening? Who are you? What team do you climb for? And say hello.
Yeah, I'm Kendra Stritch. I climb for Team USA. And hey to everybody out there watching.
Well, thank you, Kendra, for joining me here in the commentary box. Now, we were looking at this moment from earlier on. She did actually kick the score marker off the wall there. Luckily, it didn't affect her too much. And then this wild swing. I don't know how she pulled it back from this.
You know, a lot of practice just swinging around on these competition structures. You know, they do come here and also do a lot of training in Liechtenstein on their tower there, where they just had the Swiss Championships recently.
I was kind of unaware of just how good Liechtenstein climbers are, to be honest with you, before coming to this comp. Pretty impressive.
They are, and this group has also been climbing for many years in the youth competitions and in the adult competitions now for several years with a lot of success.
Well, that's the Liechtenstein team. Right now we switch over to the men's route. We're going to alternate between them. This is Javier from Spain, and Spain bringing a big team to both the World Youth Champs and to this event.
Yeah, and they bring a lot of energy.
Yeah, they do indeed. They have been a fun group of athletes to have here in the stadium. But Javier, and look at that rope. There's a big old twist in that rope.
That first draw does have a swivel on it, so they've been pretty twisted all day today to begin with, and then as soon as he moves above it, it should spin its way out and be fine.
Okay, that's good. I haven't actually seen that in an event before, so glad you told me that. I was about to call a technical incident, but yeah, we're hoping that rope will unwind. If not, we will have an issue. But Javier looking a little bit nervous down low, and of course, just straight away off the deck, it is scary as an athlete. You don't want to fall off down low.
Yes, absolutely. You want to get on the wall, get established and start getting some flow going. You know, the other thing is the Spanish team doesn't have a structure, and you know, these may be new holds to them.
Yeah, the athletes learning at the same time. And hopefully if there's some people from other sports joining us, we'll be able to let you know on the news on the chat. And now we have an expert here in the commentary box first, so you can ask her any questions you want. So this is Javier standing up tall or matching with the axe. And that right axe, a great shot there by our team, just to show how small some of these holds are. And even within that, there's going to be a small divot. And it's difficult. And people watching this for the first time, it's hard to understand what they're hooking. But often there's holes into those holes.
Yeah, there's either generally a rail or a hole, literally just the size of the pick. And
that's what they're aiming for when they go up, yeah.
We can feel that with the pick, too. Like, you develop that sense to be able to run your pick over it, or, you know, and feel if that's the good spot, or, you know, maybe if there's no good spot and you have to be really quiet on that hold.
And when you say quiet, you mean kind of delicate with the axes, or?
Delicate, and you have to hold your axe in that exact position throughout your whole movement, right? So that can be very difficult, and you can't turn your wrist side to side at all, or even like sometimes if you just release the tension a little bit, then it'll skate off of that.
Okay, so nervy stuff here, and nervy stuff throughout this competition, because ice axes can just skip off a hold sometimes in a blink of an eye, so do not look away if you're watching at home. Javier doing well, 22nd in Korea, but he won the last Continental Cup in the Netherlands, and is near the top of the standings, so he's doing really well. But a fairly slow start for him, now picking up a little bit more speed as he gets going.
Yeah, these are long routes with not a lot of time, and pacing can be very, very important in these competitions, and increasingly so over the years. We've decreased the times the last few years that athletes have for each climb.
Yeah, and someone was asking on the live chat actually how tall these walls are. I was asking this yesterday, about 15 to 16 metres tall, but do remember these routes wind across them. So in terms of climbing distance, it's much longer for the athletes. And we did see some moments with the time where it came pretty close during the World Youth Champs, but worth remembering that time is kind of provisional. So although we'll keep an eye on it, don't take it as the exact time, because sometimes the judges will start things at different moments. But it's a good example of so you can watch at home and know if the athlete is running out of time. Now, Javier, hitting into the ice here, sometimes they're hooking, sometimes they're hitting. Is there a preferred method to that?
Generally, the preferred method for the athletes is the hooking.
Yeah.
They will drill holes, like literally take a drill and drill holes into the ice. We do that because it makes it more fair across athletes. If everybody had to swing into the ice is getting chipped away, it's going to get better and then worse, and it's just not fair for the whole athlete group. But also, especially here in France, where you can see we have a lot of ice on the structure, they do like to make it a bit more like ice climbing sometimes, so there will be less drilled holes, and athletes may choose to swing in because where they want to go doesn't have a hole.
Absolutely, and it's a spectacular shot. That it looks like a sort of hanging ice pinnacle, that one, for that angle. Really cool.
A curtain off the edge.
Yeah, of course curtains can be brittle, so just hold your breath a little bit until he's back onto the plywood, and he will start to traverse now that orange hold above that 8 zone. That's where he'll be going to next. And there you go. And he tried to wrap it and then slightly changed. He's just got the edge of that pick on it now.
Yeah, so those bright orange holds are new Korean holds, and it just has a metal cylinder that comes out a little bit. And so, yeah, you have to hang your tool over that, and then you can't pull out at all because you'll just slide your pick off of it.
And how important is hold knowledge? Because I know from chatting to a few athletes that, you know, there are some holds that you guys have never seen on a wall. I mean, that must be incredibly difficult.
It is difficult. The nice thing about our flash qualifiers is that you get to see pictures, you get to see other people climb them, so we do see the holds that way. But, you know, really part of the difficulty is being able to go up there and, you know, deal with what you see when you're there. So I think that's the fun of it. But yes, it can be intimidating and scary when you don't know what you're climbing towards.
Absolutely. It's scary. I'm glad you said scary, because I watching this sport, and I appreciate I'm slightly an outsider to it, but I cannot believe how brave you guys are. It is like sport climbing with deadly weapons, this thing. The stakes feel higher in these competitions. But
there's a few more hazards to pay attention to.
Now, Javier drops down from that ice. He's looking good at the moment. Anita on the chat is asking about scoring system, and it is new this year, so it's worth going through, but we'll just wait until the end of this run here as Javier just drops down back onto the ice. In fact, retreats back around the corner. Oh, goes down. Yeah, sorry, timed out there, so time playing a factor, and he comes down. So, Kendra, could you just explain this scoring system, because it's new this year, it has been tweaked.
Yes, and it's pretty simple. I mean, the basic is each hold is given in order, the value 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the main part of your score. And then also we have a 0.1 and a 0.2. The 0.1 is you touch the next hold, and the 0.2 is that, like, here he would have been like hold 20 with a 0.2 on that because he weighted the upper hold but did not remove the bottom ice axe from the other hold.
Okay, well, we'll go through that more as we go. But yeah, you're right. It's kind of very similar to the plus system in IFSC comps. It's just that bottom hole with the pick is the important difference, I think. All right, next athlete is out and about. This is Annie Bertling. And Annie, I mean, look, we've talked so many times about what a legend this woman is. And she truly is, because, you know, she's been competing for a long time, but she's currently doing the youth. She's a coach on the Finnish team. Hasn't really picked up a pair of axes this year at all.
Right. Yep. And she also is a setter and organizer for the national and international level sport climbing competitions in Finland. So she's had a really busy year with several successful international rock climbing competitions.
It's going to be so interesting in this final because there's not a lot of pressure for her. You know, it's not a year where she's competing in lots of events. And, you know, by her own admission, she would say that she's not as fit as she could be because she's not trying to be. So, I mean, it's incredible she's even in this final. And I have a sneaky suspicion she's going to do quite well here tonight.
Yes, I hope so too. She's certainly capable.
Absolutely. Well, Annie is going to be working towards that top of the wall. We remember where Lorena got to before, so she's got some way to go and some sketchy holds down low. But for me, when I was reading this women's route, it doesn't look too bad down low, like fairly straightforward in terms of route reading anyway.
Yes, I agree.
So that right and left. Now kicking in nicely on the wall, getting her body positioned over on the right. Smooth clips from Annie as well.
I do think the route setters have the goal here to get people up high on the structure, give a good show for the spectators, and have the athletes enjoy the climb.
Yeah, absolutely. No one wants to fall off on like hold 2 and go home annoyed, but it is challenging right from the get-go, and these athletes are at an elite level. All right, just moving her way around the rope here. Good, solid work, making the match and then upgrading the hands to a higher grip. You can see her breath fogging in the air there as she works hard. Another upgrade with the left hand, and now a fairly big move over towards the right of the wall. Fiddling around with the idea of wrapping that. Now, maybe committing to it. It's a strange hold, that position that the pick is in. It's not really a full wrap. How's a little
it actually looks more like just like taken straight on. It's a little hard from this camera angle to have the full depth perception there.
Yeah, have a look at the quick draws hanging off the wall if you want to know how steep this is. It's always a good indicator. Right, on the left of your screen, you can see our scoreboard. So Lena Beck up by 25. Annie currently down at 13, so some work to do, but she is approaching the steepest part of this wall where we know there's this big stein pull here in order to rest. Someone on the chat was asking me where the term stein comes from. Have you got any idea? I haven't got a clue where stein pull. It sounds like someone's name.
I think my impression is like stein is in beer and the pull for beer.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, fair enough. It'd be nice if someone brought us one of those here in the commentary box. So if anyone's listening, you know what to do. Well, the sun has set in the background. You can see that lovely evening light here. It's not as cold as it was yesterday. And I was mentioning that at the beginning of the broadcast. Yesterday was savagely cold for the young athletes. It was,
and it was savagely cold for the coaches that stood around all day and then are competing today.
That is very true. You have a very big fluffy coat on, though. So, you know, you'll be fine, right? All right, Annie is underneath the steepest part of the wall here. We'll rest on this stein pull for a second. She gets the extended quick draw in. And a moment just to look at what's to come as she did that. And we'll hang off. And she's resting here, but it's not quite as restful as it seems, is it?
No, your weight is on your hands there, and you're trying to stand on your feet, but that wall is still steep enough that you're not getting true rests.
You're really not. Well, she launches into the traverse section here, fully upside down. Fig 4 and needed to stretch across. This is where Lorena had some difficulties. We can see Annie only just making the stretch across, and she'll now need to lose that right ice axe, and this is where this swing might occur. But different from Lorena, she seems to have locked in the Fig 4 before. It looks better.
Yeah, she did a great job of getting that foot out there to counteract the swing.
Well, she's into the ice now, and this is a moment where she'll be able to shake a little bit more. You can see the ledge there, or kind of a ledge anyway. Of course, lots of body tension required just to stand on this thing, and I always find with ice climbing, you know, it's a slippery surface to start with, and standing on a ledge always feels a little bit precarious when you're up there.
Yeah, and most of the athletes are climbing on crampons that do not have rakes or like the secondary points either. So some athletes have chosen to change their crampons for this competition with the ice, but many don't have that option.
Yeah, and we should talk about gear here for a sec, because I love how open it is in these competitions. The athletes are allowed to experiment a little bit in terms of ice axe design, crampon design, and I was talking to one of our later athletes, Woon Shin, coming out later, and she has a very interesting axe that I'll chat about when she comes on. But yeah, I love the variety of gear that we see out on the wall. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's really fun to have all the options and to figure out what's best for your style and most comfortable.
Oh, Annie having a moment there. She leaves the ice back onto the wall. Bit of a moment before she managed to kick that right foot in. A little bit of a drop knee as she gets the clip. And there's some big moves coming up here. What has Annie got in the tank? This is where Lorena started to struggle. Look how overhanging that thing is. What an angle to see that. Incredible. Up towards that floating stein when the head of the axe isn't really pressed into the wall, and it's much harder to hold that position.
Yes. You really can't relax your body at all. It's full body tension to be holding that.
And you can see that there, that cheeks of the axe not in the wall, but Annie is nearing the top here. Are we going to see our first top? She's got about 1:20 on the clock in order to get this done. So she's timed it fairly well, I think.
Yeah, she's done a great job of continuing to move up the route consistently.
And now shaking out before launching the last couple of holds here. Lovely questions coming through on the YouTube chat, by the way. We'll get to them in a second. Annie right now is nearing the really business end of this route. Kicks over towards the left of the wall. Still some way to go, as you can see. A score of 25, though, now moving her into provisional first position. Must be frustrating for some athletes watching someone who, you know, is kind of on her off season, just cruising into a finals like this.
You know, yes and no. Like, Annie has put in the work over decades of climbing here, or more than a decade of climbing here. And, you know, it's not that she's not climbing at all. She just wasn't on her tools.
Yeah.
You know, she's in the gym, she's route setting, she's climbing. And, you know, it's well-earned experience that allows her to be able to climb with this like this without much training.
Absolutely, and I do think ice climbing, the experience factor is important, but Annie flicks down. Oh, there's a big old fall, hits the ice on the way down, drops those axes, and she's back on the ground, on the deck. And we'll say goodbye to Annie. 28, her score. So a good run from her. Right, some of these questions coming in. Difference between a Fig 4 and a Fig 9, although it has actually, Ross Cooper's just answered it, but go on. Explain to us. Fig 4 or Fig 9, it's all about the which arm you use, right?
Yes, exactly. So Fig 4 is opposite leg over your arm, and Fig 9 is the same side.
So why and when would you choose to use a Fig 4 over a Fig 9?
So Figure 4s are much more stable, and actually you can like shake out in a little bit more. Figure 9s are more transitional. So there's multiple reasons to use either. You know, we can either use them on skatey holds to keep your axe stable, or in roofs to transition across.
Okay, well, good to know. Let's keep an eye on it. We can shout at us when we see one of these. Basil Fetet is underway, part of a big French team, as you'd expect. We're here in France, in the Alps. A lot of Frenchmen in this, including the Ladevant brothers, who will be coming out later, who are also legends. We're talking about Annie being a legend. They are the younger legends, or not the younger, perhaps newer to the sport than Annie. So they'll be out later on. Right, Basil. Good work from him. Goes from that top rope transition into lead climbing now. It always must be, I get a bit of a sort of a shiver when I move through from a top rope into a lead. It's like the business starts now. And this is an example of those tools I was talking about. He or someone has drilled holes in the top of that axe to lighten it up a bit. But we have seen moments, we saw it in Korea, a pick broke on one of the athletes where they drilled one too many holes in the thing. So you have got to be careful. Yeah,
it was interesting to notice this year in Korea how many of the picks had really been filed down to very skinny and, you know, obviously questionable strength.
Yeah.
There is one of the developers in Korea who has a CAD model where he will put in the weight of the climber and it'll tell him like the thickness of the picks that are needed and things.
That's cool. And so the more I learn about this sport, the more I want to become an engineer. It's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of engineers in this sport.
Well, Basil is making good work, kicking out feet high, that left foot, in order to get his body in the right position, just turning that hold into more of a side pull. Solid kicks from him, really making sure of those feet as he reaches a long way up with that right pick. And the encouragement, I hope you can hear that in the background, everyone screaming up at the wall. And I love that about ice climbing, is that it seems like the level of encouragement and support from everyone is it's I've run out of words, but it's very supportive atmosphere to be in.
It absolutely is. For the majority of the athletes, we want everybody to climb their best and have success, and we'd all love to just battle against ourselves.
Yeah, well, Basil is having some issues here. He was a bit low with the feet. He did change and adjust that left foot, but knew he didn't have the height in order to get this next hold. Digs it in once more, big twist. Flicks the axe. He's looking for that Einstein pull. Struggling at the moment. Really, really close, but just the height. Every time he's inches away from this, but he's going to have to drop down now and rest, and all the time that time is ticking away.
Yeah, and I do think that he's a little bit shorter than a number of the other athletes, or maybe all of them.
Yeah, so it could just be that extra inch or so is making a difference here. So he needs to change something up. Perhaps that left foot needs to go even higher. And he's attempting it again. Again, just the edge of the pick, flicking better that time. Couldn't get enough on it. Surely he's got to drop down to rest. He does. And this is a difficult moment for the athlete here. Up again, another miss. This time it sticks, right.
Question is, how far in is that really?
That's a really good point. Yeah, it might be right on the edge, and he can't do anything about it right now. And he's matching it, so maybe an indication that he wants to change that hold a little. Now he gets that axe out of the way. But he will have a moment where he'll be able to rest here a little on this second stein.
Yes, but he's spent a lot of time on that, and so he really needs to keep moving.
Yeah, and there's so many mind games generally in climbing, and when you've had a move like that go wrong a few times, it starts to play into your head, and he knows how much more of this route there is to go. 2 minutes 30 on the clock. Struggling a bit, it seems, to get some placement here in the wood. He's kicking really hard, and again loses that left foot. Interesting. Hard to see exactly what he's going for. He wants the volume, doesn't he? And now he's got it buried in. Good work from him now. Into the ice. Hooks in. And this is where we started to see Javier starting to hit the ice, to pick into the ice. Basil can rely more on hooks, and he's really trying to speed up here. Suddenly a bit of motivation. He will have heard the team shouting up at him about the time. Now there is a giant hook up there from the youth competition. I can see it up by the orange hole. He might not know it's there or need it. Loses the legs, swinging over. My French isn't good enough to understand that, but there was certainly some words shouted up at him there. You can tell me on the chat what the French team's saying. All right, well, this is going to be a spectacular shot in a minute, because he's going to launch across this void, this gap, and he does, rotating the feet through. He's aiming for the ice on the other side. We'll want to get out of this vertical terrain as soon as possible. And he does. Look at the speed now as we're coming up towards the minute mark. Now, you can do that as an athlete because it's not waiting the quick draw, but you can grab it and clip it onto the rope.
Yes, and it's off. If it's situated correctly, that's a very efficient and easy way to do it.
Yeah, you sometimes see the athletes lay the quick draw over their leg in order to get a better position. That live cup standings, by the way, lets you know who is currently winning the Continental Cup. The gold is the athlete currently climbing. Just keep you updated on that score. And that will change as we go on. Of course, these are provisional results as well. Loses that right foot for a second and then gets it on. And the white is for athletes not in this round, so they won't gain any points. Just to let you know what that graphic is saying. Right, these moves now on this steeper terrain. He is running out of time. He's got a couple of seconds left. He is in current provisional lead, though, with 23 as it stands. And there we go, the time is called. He leans back, has a deep breath, and comes back down to the ground. What's that moment like as an athlete when you finish the route? Does it just depend on how you've done?
Yeah, it depends on how you've done, how that's gone. I mean, I'm sure he's happy to be up on that head wall and to have timed out, not fallen before that. But, obviously he would have liked to have made it higher as well, but...
Yeah, he'll be thinking back to that Steinpool move that caused him so much trouble. Well, this was in the roof, spectacular stuff. And look, this is the fig 4, fig 9 stuff.
Yep, that's a figure 9. So it's right leg over right arm, and then he moves into the figure 4 there so that he could transition to his right.
Yeah, it's one of those things, we start to see it in rock climbing as well. Like, I've seen more and more moves like that. In fact, setters are starting to set it. So clearly the ice climbers are providing the inspiration for the rest of the rock climbing world, which I quite like.
They're much more comfortable on an ice tool because of the way that your arm is positioned in your hand. I've tried a few rock climbing, and they're a lot harder.
Yeah. All right, next athlete is on the wall, Olga Kosek. She was in the commentary box with me last night, in fact, and I was very worried that I'd exhausted her in here talking and she wasn't going to qualify, but luckily she made it through, thank goodness. One of our Polish athletes on the Athletes Commission as well, so go back and watch that broadcast if you haven't, because she was giving us some lovely insights into the future of the sport. Right now, her full focus will be on the task ahead, and look at that sky in the background. I'm going to wax lyrical about this a lot, by the way, I'm afraid, because the sunsets here are incredible.
They have been, and just the whole setting in this valley is beautiful and breathtaking.
It is. It's very cold, though. We're in the shade all day. As you'd expect, you don't want the ice to melt, but yeah, it's been a bit brutal. Not as brutal as last year. It got down to minus 20, so it wasn't that bad, but it was up there. So, Olga, quick work through the bottom. She was out there pretty early on in order to observe the route. It's a little bit nervous to me, but she's so experienced, she'll work it out, but a bit of a slip there. And how scary is it that when your feet pop? Because for me, my heart jumps every time I see it in the commentary box. Is it as bad when you're on the wall?
No, I think it's something that you get used to, and I mean, it all depends on how you're feeling at the moment anyways, but we're pretty used to it, and that's a big part of being a good competitor, is being able to just breathe through that, not let it stress you, and keep climbing.
Okay, well, it's easier said than done, though, of course, and Olga will be trying to keep that heart rate down. But yeah, for me, it's super nervy, and I hope at home you are gasping along with me. Do let me know. Remember this chat. Hello, chat to everyone there. Ask questions, say hello, join the community. It's lovely to have you here. Now, a fig for... like that, is that fig 4? Yes.
Yep.
On a less overhanging terrain, it looks a bit uncomfortable, but again, for height, I would presume.
When you start doing them like that, they're awkward, but then we just practice them and you get used to them, and they're very helpful. Like, so bigger moves, like if your hands are still feeling good, that takes a lot less energy to get into a figure 4 there and do that big move than it would be to be going dynamically.
Okay. And this is something I was interested in when watching the youth, because it seemed like less of the younger athletes were doing those moves. So, as you said, just a case of practicing them, I guess?
I think so, yes.
Okay, well, Olga's going to have to use some in a minute, because the wall's going to get very steep, as we know. She drags that rope up, makes the clip, drops back down in order to shake out. And that's all she's got. And yeah, you can see the lack of crampons from what you were talking about when you're on the ice. It's not like a traditional mountaineering crampon, that.
No, they're just the front points. There's no rakes or anything, so it can be very slippery walking around as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. And actually, the size of the ledge coming up is fairly substantial, so she might have some issues there. But we'll see. She's got to get across first. They're called fruit boots, those climbing shoes. And she'll flick that leg around. Good rope management here. Oh, I say that. She has got a bit tangled up, so she'll need to sort that out. And she does now, but still getting a bit hooked up. There's so much going on, isn't there? You're trying to hook your leg over your head with the rope wrapped around somewhere else. It's my brain can't cope with it.
There really is, and that's something that usually distinguishes the newer climbers from the more experienced climbers, is getting caught up in the rope in the roofs, and also like how well you handle it. Like, she just stayed calm through that, untangled herself, and knew what to do.
Yeah, that experience again playing a part. Well, this is the slightly sketchy bit for her. She will make through, and you can see how careful she's being with those crampons and feet.
You know, and even though the ice axes are very solid on that ice, you don't want to have your feet slip, right? Because you're taxing your hand every time with a little slip like that. And she really wants to have as much energy and strength going into this really steep head wall section so that she can make it all the way to the top.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think this route really sort of starts once you get to that second bit of plywood, it seems. Like this first bit is like burning you out a little bit, seeing how much you can fight the pump, and then this is really where it gets technical.
Yeah.
She's coming, we'll drop around the corner in a minute. If you're used to seeing this wall in previous years, you'll recognise there's slightly less ice on it this year. You can see the mesh there, and the ice melting around it. It's just because the temperature was pretty pretty warm in the couple of days leading up to this comp, so obviously the ice changes and adapts depending on that. And his score of 29.2 is what she's aiming for. But Kendra, again, these athletes don't know the score.
On, the cheering, we can hear that, which gives you an idea of like how long the person was on the wall, or if you hear like like that they fell off someplace. But really, the athletes know each other as well and know who's likely to do what. So, she knows that she really needs to make it to the top of this.
Yeah, she's got to do well, and we saw the live cup standings on screen there as well, so that is improving her score all the time, and this is a big win for a lot of athletes, getting up into the high rankings on that. And you'll notice there's athletes from all over the world. It used to just be European competitions, and then it's changed recently, and it's good to see so many international athletes here.
Yeah, and Europe has the most of these opens now, and so that's why athletes from all over the world want to come and either get experience or have something in between the World Cups.
And it's great for us because we get this high level of climbing. She had a big old reverse grip in there on that left axe, which always just makes my shoulders scream when I'm turning my arm to do it. Well, why would she be doing something like that?
Well, it actually is much more comfortable and lets you engage the big back muscles instead of just your bicep. So if your palm is up, you can only really engage your bicep and your pec. But when you flip that hand over so that you're palm down, you're now being able to engage your lats and other bigger muscles. So it's actually a much stronger position for your shoulder.
There we go, makes sense. Well, she got through that move. She's resting well. She's still below Annie's score, that 29.2. She's down on 26. She won't have that much time left either. Big move up here, and she does fall going. Looked like she started to get a bit pumped out. Look, she's holding that arm. It's just a feeling of total exhaustion as she comes down.
Yeah, she looks tired and maybe hands are cold.
Yeah, well, that's something. For a lot of people watching this, they'll think, stick on a bigger pair of gloves. But I would presume that's not very good for grip on the shaft.
Correct, yeah. Our goal is to really not hold on to our tools very hard. You'll see even sometimes people just using like the 3 fingers, and it's a very open grip where just the tips of your fingers are wrapped around. So the goal is to use the least amount of grip strength that you need, and so having golf gloves or other thin gloves lets you stay more connected to that tool.
Yeah, you do literally mean golf gloves, don't you?
I
this
do.
Is what you buy, is golf gloves, which I love as a fact. Right, next male athlete is out, Nathan Clare from France. A lot of French athletes coming out in the next couple of goes, and I love that shadow on the wall. It's so spectacular. The men's route looks a little harder to me than the women's down low.
I agree. Yeah, it looks like they're struggling a little bit more concerned about the holds.
Yeah, and he had a grimace on his face there as he checked out the foothold and jumps that right leg up. So not loving the wood in there, and in fact not really using that left leg at the moment at all, really.
Yeah, that definitely looks like an injury of some sort.
It does, doesn't it? I think that grimace was looking down at that left leg, so it might be a toe issue perhaps, but he's not using it at all. This is wild stuff. Wow. Well, try doing this one-legged. If it wasn't hard enough before. This is incredible. Look at this jump up from him. I think I would have given up long ago. He's still fighting. He's got to now trust this left leg, and that's going to hurt, isn't it, as he kicks it in. I'm not sure what the injury is, but he's having to use that left, whatever it is. Brutal. This is the toughness that I was talking about that you guys have. I take my hats off to all of you.
Yeah, and it's the true competition spirit, gonna fight for everything.
Every time he kicks that left foot, his teeth grit. Absolutely brutal, and he's having to stand so high up on it as well. Trust that axe. Oh, he's going to kick again. Maybe it's starting to get a bit better for him. Oh, whatever. I mean, he's put the pain to the back of his mind, so he continues on, wraps that axe around. And a grip like that with the pick pointing towards him, again, why would you kind of go for that rather than having the pick the other way on the wall?
It's generally two things. One, it can just be the shape of the hold, or also the direction that you're moving. So if you're going to be rotating, you often want to turn the pick in a way so that it would rotate more onto the hold instead of off of the hold if you're pulling the tool in a certain direction.
Yeah, you can see that, what I was talking about there, the big slip on that, again, that left leg, and he doesn't want to kick now, does he? So how's he going to do this? There's the B-layer in our second shot, and he's just hanging here. I think he might go. He's not enjoying himself up there. Our B-layer doing good work down on the bottom right to keep him safe. And he is done. So down to the ground, grabs that foot as it might be a technical issue.
I think he broke his front point.
Yes.
He probably kicked a hold or kicked a T-nut or a screw or something. I think he broke his front point.
So that's what that grimace was. It might just be, look, and it's bouncing off, you can see. Well, I thought it was injury just because of the way his face was, but I guess it was just frustration at that.
Yeah, I'm glad that it doesn't look like it was injury anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, okay. Well, I'm clearly too worried about the athletes here, but I really was. Oh, he'd hurt himself then. So a broken pick, possibly. Sorry, broken crampon, possibly. Matthew is asking on the chat about Petra Klingler is playing climbing Saas Fake. She's not. She won there last year, but she's put an Instagram post up saying that she wasn't doing the competitions this year. So that was a shame, but I did have quite a long chat with Petra before this season started about it all, and she was just saying to me, I was like, look, why don't you just do it anyway? I mean, you might win the thing. And she was like, it depends on training. So, Petra won't be here. Now, Anita has a question, which I want to know as well. Why not use hand warmers on the back of the gloves? Is there just not enough room, or what is it?
I don't think that it makes enough of a difference in this short time. And also, like, you want your gloves, like, super tight. Like, you'll see that these athletes are, like, actually even taping their gloves on and things. So, like, to put that hand warmer there is, you just don't have the space.
That's fair enough. All right, Marion Thomas is out from Team France. And you might notice a bit of a sparkle on Team France's faces. That's because they've sparkled their faces up. I don't know quite what it is, but it's some kind of glitter, which I like. Oh, sorry, the Crazy Duchess reminded me, Petra's second last year. All right, so Marion underway. That pink harness matching the pink rope. She makes her way easily through these first couple of moves. So I guess what we were talking about earlier about the crampon breaking, that could be an indication of this sort of engineering that we chatted about, that you can sometimes push it too far.
Yeah, I mean, more likely that's just unlucky and normal crampon points.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair enough.
I mean, we do use a different angle of point than from, like, ice climbing crampons. It's more up instead of as downturned because of the angle that we're climbing at and that we're kicking into the plywood. And so they are somewhat skinny and very sharp, but and we use them consistently, so I think that might just be really unlucky to have kicked really strongly into something metal, or it had some fatigue on it as well. But it happens. We've had a few heartbreaking pick breaks and things like that this season already. Yeah,
we have. I mean, I remember Louna Ledevant last year breaking an axe, for example, so it can happen. All right, so Marion is doing well as she nears the steeper part of the wall here. Good hooks from her, making easy clips, but a long way to go. Currently on 11. And that's the awkward figure four we were talking about earlier, but it has...
Yeah, that same spot. I just think if you're used to getting into those, that's the most efficient way to do that move.
Yeah, you guys judge height really well, because I think for people watching this for the first time, everything looks really far away from everything else. You know, it's difficult to measure in my brain anyway.
Yeah, and that's experience. You know, when I started, one of the hardest things was getting my feet into the right height and not getting them too high to create a bigger lever. And really, you want every move to just hit it perfectly. Your full extension, standing on your feet.
Yeah, that's the plan, isn't it? I mean, it's a flow state thing as well. You know, you don't want to be adjusting your feet. You just want to keep moving. And so far, Marion is doing well. So now leans backwards, shakes out a little bit, but doesn't rest for too long before going. Time way more of a factor in these comps than other competitions. They're long routes, and there's a lot to them. They're very involving. Decides to swing those feet down. Needs to get probably a fig 4 in here at some point. Now does. A fig 9, sorry. And then changes it into a fig 4. That's a lovely transition. So smooth from her.
Yeah, these athletes did get to climb across this same section in qualification today, so it is nice that they have been here and have a feeling of what they need to do.
Yeah, this structure as well. I mean, it's a very famous place to come climbing, so they will be used. A lot of them should be used to it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Marion will have been training here. It's they get to do a decent amount of training here, which is great.
Yeah, it is. They have good facilities for that. So she's quickly through the ice into a good resting position. She'll make that clip, shake out for a second before launching upwards into the steeper part of the wall. So third. Out. And now she's onto the plywood, onto the steep part. And from now on, she won't be able to hang around here too much. He's no stranger to being on the podium. 2 medals out of 3 in the last 3 comps. Both of them silver. She'd love to upgrade one of those to a gold. Oh, but she pops that foot for a second, dropping into the Stein pool now. Making sure of that axe placement. She has a little glance up at it before committing to that pull. Shakes out the left hand. You can hear the alley from the French crowd. Oh, but a big swing and a catch. Somehow manages to hold it. That floating Stein was really locked in, but the strength that requires to catch that on a floating Stein is unreal.
Yeah, the body tension of the top athletes here is just so impressive.
Yeah, I can't imagine how many sit-ups they must do on a daily basis. It's a lot, I would imagine. It's a lot of six-packs going on here. All right, well, she gets in another fig 4 in order to make this clip. She's doing well, but remember the time, it will be ticking away. A bit of a fumble with this clip. Gets it in now. Makes a big move over towards the left as she buries the pick in. A bit of snow falling from the top of the structure there, I think. Big encouragement as she goes up towards that next hold, wraps the axe around. More moves coming. The arms will be screaming at this point. Shakes out that left hand, the right thumb pressed in, that modified axe handle there. Grabs for the rope. Oh, fumbles it the first time. Goes again. Gets that clip in. Now she does. That score of 27. She is pretty close to overtaking any here, but time is going to be a real factor as she again drops down. Just too pumped to carry on at the moment. It's a fist-like grip, and another big move up towards a wrap. And into, I hadn't even noticed that side bit of the wall. That's so cool. I've just bolted it on. Reaches up again with that left axe. Now will need to lose the feet for a second. And she's pretty close here towards the top of the wall. That's certainly coming. Now this volume she's in now has a series of holes. Each hole is a different depth. I think that might have been the MC announcing that she'd been timed out. We'll have to wait and see. She'll definitely want to make that clip in. You always want to get the clip before dropping off. No one likes to take a massive whip, but if that is the case, it might not be. Swings over, much better position in order to make this next clip. Gets it in, stretching with the thumb. Looks like she hasn't been timed out yet, so is carrying on. And now she's just traversing high above the crowd, about 15, 16 meters up here. There you can see it. What a shot. As the stars start to come out and the photographers take the photos, drops down with a big smile. That was a good fight from her. Well, a good run from her. This was down low when she'd lost the feet. Looked calm and casual as she kicked above her head. Spider-Man like hanging there. Transition to the ice was good, nice and smooth. And towards the ledge. Dropped that right hand down and it was good work. And this top of the wall though, that was her scariest moment I think in the round.
Yeah, and that will have been very taxing on her hands, you know, and just those small slips can cost her a hold or two up at the top, but that's how it goes. Absolutely, it just sort of makes an impact later on. Hello to Dario, by the way, who is part of the organising team in Saas-Fee. Well, yeah, the Saas-Fee comp is coming pretty soon, for a couple of days in fact, where we'll head to the underground Swiss car park and attempt to climb up it. Right, Tristan Ladevin. Now, I went to see him in ISO, and he was having a little nap, but before he went to sleep, I was talking to him about why him and his brother haven't been competing this year, and he just said, look, we just needed a break. You know, it was just time to walk away a bit and not burn ourselves out. But, a bit like Any did, they've come back for a competition and immediately into the finals. They're good, these brothers. Yes, they are phenomenal climbers, and, you know, they may have been taking a break from competition, but they were not taking a break from hard climbing, both on rock and alpinism. These guys do it all, and they're good at it all. Yeah, they are. I mean, Lena Ladevin took part of the Red Bull Dual Ascent Dam climb, so he's as good a rock climber as he an ice climber as well. But this is his brother, Tristan. They do look very similar, and I've definitely mixed them up on live streams before, but I'll attempt not to tonight. Especially from the back. Yes, exactly. It's nice to see the brothers back, and they're so friendly and good to chat to, so lovely to have them back on the tour. Well, Tristan Ladevin will want to get onto the podium for sure, even if this is his comeback. Yeah, he told me he trained maybe 7 times or so far this season, which isn't a huge amount for the guys at this level. Reaching up, making that move look simple. Tristan will signal the halfway point of this finals. Gets the clips in. The athletes will compete in the opposite order from where they qualified. So Lena Ladevin, who qualified in first position, will come out last. And the athletes we're seeing here qualified in a slightly lower position. And that does make a difference sometimes with countback. Right, Tristan hits the ice and seems to immediately find some pretty good hooks in here. Searches around now, but there, look at that. It just sinks into a big hole. And there, once again, our belay team, who are working without gloves, which I'm well impressed with. Making sure the slack is given. The athletes don't have to grab at the rope. Very rarely at this level do we see athletes short roped. The belayers know what they're doing. No, yeah, we don't have very many problems that way, and really the biggest problems are rope drag. Yeah, and the setters do put those long draws in to try to eliminate this, but the route goes, I mean, all the way from the middle, all the way around the corner to the middle of the other wall. I mean, it's a big ask to try to eliminate that. Well, and eventually just even the weight of the rope makes a difference, right? Yeah, fully. Well, he's in the steep bit now. Needs to work out this transition. Drops into the fig four. And then into that. What is usually a screw or something? No, it's a metal hook. Okay. I'm going to have a collection of these holds just so I can describe it, because it's like a mad scientist and a route setter has combined themselves and just created these holds. You know, they're so cool to see in real life. Yeah, it's really fun, the creativity that has come in the holds in the last few years and continues.
Yeah, and we had an interview. The UIAA is making a documentary on thin ice, which you should go and check the teaser for, actually. That's available on YouTube. But we were talking the other day to Dennis, who makes holds. He's one of the people on the tour. And yeah, it was crazy. He was showing us some of his creations. It's awesome. Right, Tristan Ladevant is on the head wall now, on the steep part of the wall. And his arms will be starting to burn with around about 3 minutes left. He has got plenty of time, if that is correct. You do remember, bear in mind that it isn't always as accurate. And no real problems from Tristan so far. But now, for the first time, starting to snatch a bit at clips. Now leans backwards above the crowd, kicks out onto a section of the wall that hasn't really been kicked into. There's a big move here. Looks like a spider hanging there with those like claws out from the axe. He almost wants a knee bar style move as he rocks up. And this is an awkward move because you're kind of going up above your head and over towards the left. And it's on a volume.
So what you saw there is that he wanted to switch hands so that he could go into it with a stronger position across his body, and it also keeps it more stable since it's across your body and locks your shoulder in.
They just made that adjustment in order to do that. About a minute 43 to go here. Gets another clip in, and he looks like he's recovered something. I thought he was getting pumped a few clips ago, but he seems to have come back here. But this is another awkward fig four when you're trying to flick that rope out of the way.
Yeah, they're the most awkward when you've got a clip in the way like he does.
All right, well, he sits on that arm now, reaches up, instinctively knows the hold, exactly where to go on that one. Allez, super indeed, but he does lose his feet there for a second, kicks it back into the volume. Good stuff, and we're seeing now the top of the wall, that hold with the blue tape around it. That is the last hold. But there is a sequence to go before that, and then there's a bit of a palaver that goes on before you can clip the thing. You have to clip the draw and match it. Right, another Stein pull. Less than a minute now for Tristan Ladevant. Into that volume hold. Oh, loses it. And remember, with these holds, there's lots of different sizes of holes in there, so he might have got a smaller one, but better foot position now. Oh, but loses it again. He just puts his head back in despair at that.
It's a pretty steep angle for that.
Yeah, he needs to almost drop right down onto it in order to make it work. He's only got about 10 seconds as well, and finally that pick threatened to go, and it did, sending him down. But that was a good performance from a man who apparently hasn't been training.
Yeah, that was phenomenal to watch.
But he immediately goes to his knees as he hits the ice, taking a deep breath, full body burn. This was his journey through the roof, nearly kicking his own axe off here. This was some of the big moves up high. Very accurate feet placement as well. That was the almost knee bar, and you can see the snow falling off the top. Our photographer leans over the top to get a shot. That shows you how steep it is. If he's knocking off snow and it's going nowhere near the athlete, you understand. So what happened there, do you think? I mean, obviously we don't know, the pick came out, but maybe not seated quite in the hold, or?
No, I think that he shifted the weight on it. Like, that metal plate is pretty close to vertical there, and he still hadn't gotten to the right of that hold where it would be more secure, right? So he was having to push into it, and he either just wiggled his wrist there a little bit, or potentially just shifted, like let off a little bit and popped right out.
Okay, well, that was the story of that one. That's his competition done for now. Oh, done, full stop, not for now. Bit of a wait here, not quite sure what's going on. The athlete, I think, just tying on, and she does happily get to tie on in the relative warmth of that tent. Gives a wave. Haruku Takuchi is on from Japan, and It's amazing. Like, this is an example. I mean, she's done all the Continental Cups. She's doing all the World Cups. You know, there's a lot of travel that she's doing away from Japan. It's a lot.
Yeah, I think everybody's happy to stay in the same time zone for 2 competitions here.
That's a good point, yeah. Jet lag is real. We actually came from Korea, what was only last weekend, which is pretty crazy to think that, for the first World Cup. And again, you can go back and watch that on the UIAA YouTube channel if you missed it. Right, gets a nod from the Bila. She will pull off the ground. 5th athlete out for the women. And we'd expect her to be pretty cruisy down low through here.
Yeah, she's a very experienced climber and efficient.
And using her hands as well. You can do that. In fact, you could theoretically climb the whole route with your hands, but obviously the distances between the holds won't really allow for that.
And certainly some of the holds have been designed to prevent that.
One of your athletes who's coming out later on has very strong fingers, so he might be doing a bit of that, but we'll chat about him when he comes. Using the lowest grip possible in order to reach up as high as possible towards that next hold. Score of 6 at the moment. Towards the hook. So you do a lot of coaching. For people who are watching this for the first time and they're watching ice climbing for the first time, well, what are we looking out for in terms of the athletes' movements? You know, what is showing them to be climbing well, do you think?
Well, efficiency and foot placement. So the less number of kicks between moves as possible. And then, as I said earlier, when you stand up to go to that next hold, you really kind of want it to just be at your full extension often. That's the most efficient, to have your feet as low as you can, but to be able to still reach the holds.
Okay, well, something to keep an eye out for. And Haruku there, moving up to 3rd in the overall standings. So this is helping that Continental score up towards the left. Someone was asking me yesterday what the difference between a Continental Cup and a World Cup is, because the standard seems similar, and it kind of is in a way. You know, it's like the level of these athletes are World Cup standard athletes.
Well, and the case tonight is that we have, I guess all of these are World Cup athletes that are in finals here tonight. The Continental Opens are open to anybody. Anyone can register and come, so we do have some people that are doing their first competition. And but with the World Cups, there's a quota for each country, and the federations have to register people, so everybody generally has a formal team with some sort of selection criteria.
Yeah, and the level, just to get onto some of these teams, it's not easy to do. But don't be put off if you want to try this sport. It is brilliant to do, and you can contact either Kendra. She's on my Instagram if you want to get hold of her, and I'm sure she'll be happy to answer your questions.
Absolutely. I love getting people involved in this and helping them find places to do it.
There we go. So drop Kendra a message. Give her a follow while you're there. All right, we're watching Haruku here, doing well. No real drama down low, just making sure of those placements. And it's a smooth climb up towards the first of those big steimpels.
So that was a big lock off that we saw versus some other people we had seen figure 4s.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, everyone else had that awkward fig 4. So it just shows, I mean, there's ways to do everything. You just got to decide which way's better for you and your body shape.
Absolutely.
Well, whatever, she will rest down here, shaking out that right hand, getting out the pump. And I can't wait to see what she does on this next section. She's climbing it pretty uniquely at the moment. Searches around for the hook. It'd be quite blind for her, that hold. Won't be able to see onto the top of it.
No, but that's the key to having looked at that earlier in route observation.
Yeah, binoculars really, really important for this route. Ooh, little shake there. She's okay. Has that fig 4 locked in really nicely, actually. But look, I mean, it's so crazy to think that she's dropping onto the very, very tip of that axe. Flicks the leg over now. That boot is slightly undone at the top. Hopefully that won't distract her too much. Trying to find a hook in the ice as well. It's got something in. She hasn't made this clip yet either. I think she'll choose to do it from the ice. Yeah, she does from there.
Especially through this roof section we saw earlier today, everybody who was trying to clip ahead of them had a hard time. It was much harder to clip and you got more tangled. So the key really has been to climb past the clips and clip behind you.
Okay, good knowledge there. Well, she's going fairly high up here on the ice. Very high up, in fact. Might just be the angle, I don't know. Now has a little look down low. Flicks that draw back. Yeah, is she high or is this the angle?
I think she's high as well. We'll see what the strategy is here.
Yeah, I mean, she's looking down at that ledge beneath her, and she has observed this. It's not like it's blind, but it's obviously a choice. But yeah, she's interesting. Totally different way through there, but it's worked so far. Now drops down a little bit. Worked for her. Really climbing this uniquely. You can see there, third position, 226, her current score for the Continental Cup.
I think she handled that well without much time loss.
Yeah, I think she maybe just went a couple of moves higher than she would have wanted to, and then sort of realised and made the adjustment. But yeah, as you said, like, no faff, no issue, so good work from her. Right, with about 2 minutes to go, this is where things ramp up. So, will she have something left in the tank? She's shaking out. Didn't rest on the ice for too long. And this is the floating Steinpool. You can see the tension in that arm on that reverse grip as well. And then the confidence to make that switch on the hands. Alright, well, the photographers are waiting at the top. She's got that whole traverse to come, but has got enough time, but will need to slightly kick on here, start to go. Let's pick it up a little bit as she gets through here. Reaches up over towards the left, choosing to wait for that clip until she's in the correct position. And that's something we saw with the youth competition a lot on the last couple of days. Athletes making slight mistakes with where they're clipping, where they're making decisions to clip. And you can learn a lot by watching that and then coming and watching this and being like, oh, okay.
With the rules change previous to this year, clips were worth more points than additional holds. So you would clip high often or make sure that you were getting clips. I'm not seeing a huge change in the climbing yet. People are still clipping high, and which is usually less efficient. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how long that takes everybody to make the mental changes on that. Yeah,
because it's quite a big rule change. And a slip and a catch though. And luckily that left axe is in a solid place, but she's going to have to completely readjust here. Kicks that right foot in. Now she's solid, but she'll want to shake, and that time, that's cost her a good 10, 15 seconds, and time is not her friend. Down in fourth at the moment. Needs to make more progression if she's going to get onto the provisional podium, but the clock's gone and a slip before it could run out of time. I don't think she had anything left there. That was it. Done.
Yeah, we saw the sunset here, and I think that the temperature has probably dropped quite a bit for her.
Yeah, my knees have got cold, if that's an indication of what's going on here. Matthew Skolnick is asking, is this a permanent structure? Yes, it is. So we're in Champagny at Vanoise, so Google it. And I know you can come here and train in the summer as well as the winter, but the structure obviously at its best in the middle of winter. And I'm not too sure about the exact procedure for coming here, but they certainly have rental equipment. You can come and try it. So ring ahead, and I'm sure someone will teach you how to do it if you happen to be in the area, he says, not really knowing if that's the case. But I do think that is the case.
It is the case. They have a website where you can find out things and contact them.
Excellent. Okay. I'm glad I didn't have a whole load of people turning up and demanding ice lessons then. Okay, well, our next male athlete is out as Virgil Devon from France. Third to last athlete out and climbing. Yeah, big French team, as you'd expect here. He's no stranger to a podium either. Oulu was his last gold back in 22. And yeah, all of the men just being a little bit tentative off the ground on this route, then picking things up through the middle before the roof. Positive kicks into the wall here. And yeah, the temperature does affect the plywood itself. Earlier on it was a little bit warmer, a little bit wetter, and it would have made the wood a bit softer. Now it's certainly starting to harden up. Won't make a huge difference, but just worth bearing in mind. But not enough to make a discrepancy for the athletes who compete at the beginning. Unless we had a real temperature drop, and then I think we've got different issues going on at that point.
Yeah, last year was extremely cold here, and it makes the wood harder, it makes the ice more brittle, it can make the holds harder as well.
Yeah, and just warming up. I mean, the athletes also climbing in very thin clothing, because they don't want big bulky clothing getting in the way, but yeah, you've got to make sure you're ready to go. There's a warm-up area in the isolation where they can get themselves prepared. But yeah, I know talking to a few athletes this morning, certainly when it was cold before the sun had really come out, like cold hands were a problem for some. Right, into the curtain of ice now. Front point's buried in, tries to find those hooks which are there somewhere, decides just to go for the hit. And the picks are different as well. Like if you are a regular ice climber, you'll know that there are ice climbing picks, there are dry tooling picks, there are mixed picks, but these athletes won't necessarily have, or they won't have specific ice picks in.
Correct, and not just the ice picks, but also our tools for competition are shaped very differently, and so most of them do not swing very well.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing. So yeah, there are levels to this game. All right, kicks his right foot out, got that left foot stuck for a bit, had to wiggle it out. And it just shows how spiky those crampons are, the fact that you have to work your feet out of the wood. He's really sped up here across the roof, and it was a smooth transition there, sitting at 173 on the cup standings currently. But good hooks, and he's not really hanging around on that ice at all. I think he'll know. I mean, no one's topped this route yet, and as you said earlier, he would have heard the cheers, you know, so I think it'll be in the back of his mind. The crowd gets behind him as he somehow pulls himself back. But yeah, I think he's frustrated with himself. He couldn't get that left axe. He almost pulled himself off the wall.
The French team is no stranger to just hanging from one axe and having to put their feet back on. It seems like a little bit of a style for them. And so, yes, that will have been taxing for his hands, but I think mentally he'll just move on from that.
Yeah, he had a brief moment of disappointment and then carried on, but a tricky moment for him now, shaking out the pump. Big wide moves to come. Goes out, and you can see how that Steinpull is a bit different now as he rotates the weight in. It becomes better and looks so quick. Tristan had a bit of issue there. Virgil much smoother.
I think your description of the French team having a little bit of glitter goes beyond, or a little bit of sparkle goes beyond just the glitter that's on their faces. I think that's a great description for their team, and I'm going to use that going forward.
Brilliant. I'm glad I can add something to this. A bit of sparkle for the Frenchies. Right, well, he wraps that leg up around again. Let's see if he can find some sparkle for the top of this route, because there are hard moves to come. Tristan's score of 31, nearly the top of the wall, remember. Alright, big reach out. Careful with the axes now, being very precise with the placements. He knows things get technical as it gets left overhanging.
Yeah, this is a very sequency part here. They're going to have to do a very specific sequence of moves to be able to get through this section.
Yeah, remember on site, so he's never done this sequence before, and having troubles, finally goes. I think his luck ran out eventually. He had a slip before he eventually fell, couldn't get the foot out, comes down to the ground. So it won't be gold, but it will be on the podium at the moment. Virgil comes down. Let's see some of his highlights, shall we? This was his move across onto the ice. Didn't hang around there at all on the ice itself. And this was the huge slip he had, swinging around wildly. Managed to pull it out, and then look at this little head flick back, and finally the fall at the end. And that axe plummeting past him. The athletes do have to avoid dropping ice axes, and the belayers and anyone who's in the arena has to wear helmets, as you expect. Right, Marion is out. Van der Steer who is one of my favourite people on tour, I will be honest. She is a wonderful human being. She had to battle controversy last weekend where she lost all of her tools in transit, had to climb and borrow tools, still got high up, but she was so disappointed not to have done better in Korea. So this is revenge for her here tonight. Let's see what Marion can do. Committing herself to climbing full-time at the moment, as much as possible, really going for this athlete lifestyle. And it's good to see her with her own set of tools in her hands, because it does make a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, she still did well last week. It was great. I know she didn't feel great having to improvise everything and climb in boots that were a little too small, but there's been lots of lost luggage over the years.
It has indeed, and you can't do what rock climbers do and just put your shoes in your hand luggage. It's an ice axe. Now, she does look down. I think what's going on here? So there's a bit of an issue.
They're pulling her off the wall.
Right, so what is going on? She's super frustrated by this. There is a big, big problem. I think she's going to come down, and she does come down, right. So it's hard for us to see exactly what happened. I don't think that was the B-layer short roping, or was it?
No, it was repeated, so it's on purpose. It's bizarre because usually if there's a judging thing, we do not pull the athletes off the wall anymore because we could have made the mistake as judges as well.
Yeah.
And so we let them climb. So I'm really uncertain what has happened here.
Yeah, well, there are some of our judges coming across to discuss it. Yeah, because it wasn't like there was there might have been an issue with the belay device, but you're right, it looked like she was being pulled off. But we'll see. Whatever, she will get reset here. She'll get to go again, I think. Although she is being ushered off. I mean, obviously frustrated by that. I'll let you know as soon as I do. I will be updated here. In fact, I have. Yeah, I've been told technical incident, yes. So we know there's some kind of a problem here. I'll let you know exactly what that technical incident is if I find out and when I find out. But for now, I would imagine that we're going to move on to our next athlete. We'll see. Well, what a tower that is. I mean, it looks so cool from that shot, doesn't it? Higher than the trees around it. Really awesome.
Yeah, it's a beautiful structure, especially the years where they are able to build ice up on that full head wall.
Yeah, exactly. And I said earlier about the mesh. Now, the judges are discussing exactly what happened here. So they're having their conference. So we've just had a message delivered to us, in fact. So from what we understand, from what we've been told, it was a B-layer error for Marion. So Marion called it technical, because obviously if you're being short roped or whatever happened, then it's an issue. Might have been a device, we don't know. We can see there the judges talking to the B-layer, in fact. But Marion will get to climb again. So she'll go back into isolation, rest, reset, and she will get to go again. And it won't have burnt her out too much on the bottom of the wall there. You hope, anyway.
Yeah, there's always that mental stress, and Marianne's not new to that and is a seasoned competitor and can deal with it, but it is unfortunate and never fun to have that happen to you in a competition.
Exactly, it's not what we want. So, corrections being made by the team, and I think possibly by the time we're waiting, they might let Marianne go again, but we'll see. But everyone is being ushered off the ice now, so everyone's conversation has happened. And big thank you to Olga as well for delivering that message to us just now. It was really helpful. Thank you, Olga. Congratulations for your run earlier on. She was not out of breath at all when she came to bring us that news, so that's good to know. All right, well, we're going to get some action soon. Do not worry if you're watching this, but I'll just take this as an opportunity to remind you where you can watch the rest of the competition. Saas-Fee kicks off on Friday, next World Cup, and after Saas-Fee we move to Canada, Edmonton, for the final World Cup of the season. And the Continental Cups will be going on throughout. You won't get to hear my voice, which is either good or bad, depending on what you feel about it, but those Continental Cups carry on. Now, a gentleman that you'll know fairly well on Team USA here, out on the, I was about to say out on the mats, but Keenan Griscom. Tell me a little bit about this young man.
Keenan's been competing since he was quite young. He's from Colorado. He's a seasoned athlete here and also an avid rock climber and boulderer. So he's been spending a lot of time doing that. But he has a home wall that he trains on. And yeah, he's been He's a great addition to our team as a person and as a wonderful climber who's been consistently making finals now.
Yeah, I joked with him in Korea. I was saying that he needs to do more boulder-style moves, being a bit of a boulderer myself. So I'm hoping that he unleashes the finger strength on this wall, but we'll have to see.
I can't say that I agree with you.
It's okay to be wrong. It's fine. All right, well, Keenan is doing well down low. He couldn't compete in the youth nationals because the rules changed and he's now too old, but he, of course, can compete in this and is doing a little bit of a slip with the feet, though, but that won't make a difference to him. And Tim Hennekels, who's on the chat, is shouting, "Go, Keenan." So he's got some support for sure back at home.
Yeah, and it's good timing. Colorado's 8 hours behind us here, and so everybody will be awake and able to tune in.
Well, there you go. For Fun Colorado, no excuses, all right? Don't want to hear it. And I do hope everyone is enjoying their Sunday evening, perhaps, for a lot of people. I know there's people who are at home watching, chilling out in the UK, for example, across the world, watching this competition. So hopefully having a nice Sunday night. Ooh, but a bit of a slip there with the left foot. Wasn't quite secure on that plywood. Fairly low down on this, but makes that correction. He's got the white and black glove combo, which I quite like.
Keenan has a lot of style. It's a very unique style.
I think it's cool.
We're actually going to be starting a line of sweatshirt climbing wear.
Okay.
Keenan does not like to have tight athletic wear on. Right. So, yeah, I think I'm taking the opportunity to start selling the...
Oh, sorry, as you were saying that was a big move. So he had to drop right down to rest and shake again. Yeah, you can see that jumper he's wearing. It is, you're right, a lot more baggy.
But we want him to be comfortable.
Okay. Are you starting this company, or is this...
Yeah, I'm going to back him on this. Okay. So we're going to start the Keenan line of baggy athletic wear.
Brilliant. I can't wait. Well, send me a sample, please. Well, Keenan had a couple of moments during this, but he isn't seeming to let it affect him, which is good to see. Positively moving on. But a thuggy section to come. Let's see what he can do with this one. All right, making his way now across those stars in the background. All right, over towards the right. But does need to commit to this move. So kicking in high, gets a rope tangle for a second, sorts it out with the feet. Good work from him. And I have just got official confirmation about Marion, who was short roped, so she will go again later on. Right, he's on the ice now, having a bit of trouble with that clip, gets it sorted out. And I don't think he'll hang around on this, no one else has so far. Is he a good endurance climber, or does he enjoy more sort of thuggy, technical, cruxy sections?
I mean, I personally think he's good at all of it, but that's, all relative, right? I know that he really enjoys the bouldering, especially recently, but he does have the endurance for these routes.
You are allowed to be biased, by the way. It's totally understandable. You are Team USA after all. So
and I don't quite know exactly how he would answer that.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That is fair. We can speak for them. It's what's wonderful about being in this box. Say what you want and have to deal with the consequences later. But big swing and another moment for Keenan. He is causing us all types of nervousness here in the commentary box, where he hooks that leg over again. Not quite settled on this in terms of the position of that arm.
Yeah, I wonder if he's feeling that he needs to move quicker. I mean, he's usually good with his pacing, and he did tell me earlier today that on his qualification climb, he was ahead of his normal pacing, and he was excited about that.
Yeah, so it's something he's working on here. Right, gets that clip in, works it in. I mean, I've watched so many clip fumbles over the years, and then I imagine trying to do clips with golf gloves on. You realise how difficult it is, because you can get the glove caught in the clip. It's so much going on. But he's looking good at the moment here. This is where Virgil just cruised through this move, and that is showing Keenan there some of his boulder strength. Big beefy move up. Remember, chat, you can give your encouragement on the YouTube chat. Let us know who you're supporting. Are you new to this as well? I want to see if there's any new climbers watching this. This is the first time. Did the YouTube algorithm tempt you in somehow and you're wondering what on earth you're watching on your Sunday night? Let me know if you're a first timer. Right, he's got this deep fig four and another foot pop from Keenan. Can you please tell him to like chill out next time he climbs, just for my sake? All right, technical section coming and less than a minute on our clock to go. And a lot of climbing to go as well, so he's going to have to push now on the last section if he wants to get this done in time. Big kick with the right foot, shake it out, but he loses that right for a second. That looks better though. Right, now he really needs to motor. We know what this is like. You've got to cross through with that left axe underneath. I think he's going to try to dodge that hold. As I said, it's very sequency. Maybe. He was certainly looking at making the span across. Kicks in, shakes out. He's looking at it again now. Yeah, okay, that's good. Commits to it. You can skip the beater and break the beater. Oh, but he falls. But I think the time might have been a time
there, yeah.
Every time an athlete falls off, I forget to look at the time just in case. I'm too into this. And I love that shot, the lights on the wall and the lights off the ice and snow on the trees in the background. Beautiful. Well, this was his big moment down low. He had that drop knee in, had to reset that and go again. Didn't seem to cost him anything. Still looked powerful towards the top. Cruised through this section. Dropped down on the ice nice and cleanly from him. And this was on the final section. It's hard to call it a head wall because it's so overhanging. And let's see, I think he just, let go. Down he comes.
Yeah, it looks like he had heard the time's up call there.
All right, so another athlete done. We'll swap over to the women, and I wonder if it is Marianne. I don't think she'll probably have more of a rest, but it's hard to see from that angle who's on the wall. It's either Marianne or it's Woon Shin, and it is Woon Shin. Oh no, yes it is.
Yep.
Right, I wanted to chat about her axes, because maybe it's just me that finds this fascinating, but she climbs with Petzelnomics, but with a sort of modified handle on it, and I was like, why wouldn't you use the ergonomics? She's like, I just don't like the angle of it. So this is, I just find it so interesting. It might just be me nerding out on this, but yeah.
Well, no, I think most of us athletes nerd out on the tools and everything, good. But yeah, I mean, what some of the companies think are good competition tools and what...
But I was about to slate the brands for not making proper tools, but then, you know, the level that you guys are climbing at isn't what normal people are climbing at, so maybe understandable.
Yes, and yeah, just ice tool development doesn't always align with what's the most useful.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's a very politically correct way of saying it as well. I'm impressed by that. All right, Woon Shin is out. She's climbing well. She is an utter legend of the sport. So if you want to learn something about ice climbing, watch this lady climb. Augustine is asking on the chat whether is this the first time in a while we've had an American athlete. You can tell us more. I mean, Team USA seems big this year from you guys.
It's been big for a couple of years. Yeah, we max out our quotas at the World Cups and everything. So, no, we've had U.S. athletes every year since 2012 or maybe a little bit earlier than that. And but this is the first year that we have multiple athletes making it into lead finals consistently. You know, Catalina Shirley took home 2 medals, one in lead, one in speed, last weekend in Korea for us. And so, yeah, we're getting a little bit more talk about the team because of their results.
Oh, look at this from Woon Shin. She almost had the splits in then as she transitioned. Crazy high left foot. Insane flexibility, but she made it work. And also, she's climbing really quickly through that first part.
She's a very efficient and smooth climber. It's always been beautiful to watch her climb. It's been said for many years about her that she's very smooth.
Yeah, she's got that flow, hasn't she? And a lot of people talk about different styles of different nationalities, and Korean style is something that I've heard talked about a lot. I'm still not 100% sure what it is, but it just shows you how much respect people have for those athletes. And she is now dropping nice and low. We saw Haruku go so high here, and now you can really see how high she went. She was above that green draw. Oh, that's awkward. What a weird move.
That was a weird decision.
Yeah, sort of got caught in two minds, but it did work for her. There we are. So this is the problem when we start talking about athletes' flow and style, and we see something like that. Like, oh no. And again, that right foot kicking and swinging out. But look at the time. She's been so quick. Only 2 minutes gone. Right, let's see what she can do here.
Yeah, and she's very used to climbing on the Korean structure, which has got a lot of roofs and is also very long.
Yeah, it's enormous.
They do a lot of practice on climbing quick to be able to get to the top of that structure.
Yeah, that structure in Korea, 30 meters tall. It's crazy. In the middle of nowhere, I'd like to add, but still, if you happen to be in Korea, go and have a look at that thing. Right, hooks her left leg over the left arm in a fig 9. And again, a slightly weird position to be in there, but making it work, and now gets the fig 4. And a wrap. Her flexibility is crazy. I'm sort of really impressed with it on this wall.
Yes.
Of course, you've got to be strong. It can be as flexible as you want, but you have to have the strength in a bendy, flexible position. She's got that as well. Right, leans back, keeping all the weight on the edge of that axe to keep it on the hold. Up high, crosses the feet over, flicks it around, and she's got plenty of time to get this last section done here. You wouldn't bet against her being the first one to top this route at this point. But this hold is nasty. We saw Tristan had issues with it before on the men's, and the women have to deal with it too. Yeah, the angle on that changes everything, doesn't it?
It does, yep.
I love the mountains there as well. Plywood, kickable of course. And it must be so strange to climb to the top of the wall, have a look up and see a photographer staring down at you. Oh, you must think it's weird. And they've been waiting patiently for her to get this far. We'll do a double clip here. Only a couple of moves to go and lots of time. So unless she makes a mistake, you can see the top indicated. Drops down. This is a powerful climb from her. Finds the pick. There's the top. Needs to get another clip in first, though. Keep an eye on the live cup standings on the right. It's being updated as we go. There's the top. We'll need to match it. Get that clip in. And that is it for Woon Shin. Good job from her. I mean, it was kind of subdued almost on top of that.
So much time left on the clock, too.
Crazy, isn't it? Well, that was a brilliant performance, and that's going to take some beating for our last two athletes. Wow. Well, Cena Gertz and Marion have got to climb still, but Woon Shin has made a real statement with that one.
She has indeed.
Oh. This was this crazy flexible move that I talked about. Look at this left leg. It just goes up forever. It doesn't stop. Look, carries on hooking above her head. I'm just fanboying out here. This is madness. I'm really enjoying it. And then over towards the left. Got this double clip in and a smooth top. It's almost like she couldn't quite believe that she topped it out that easily. Awesome.
Yeah, she had no difficulty in that top section. She just really styled it.
Yeah, she did indeed. All right, well, last couple of men to go. Who we got next? Yes, Jonathan Arthur Brown from Team Switzerland. A lot of people talk about the next man out as the one to be. One to be? That's weird. The one to beat and the future potential athlete as well. So looking forward to seeing him climb. Right now the rope is being pulled for the women. And you can see a ladder there in the background. That's how our photographers get up to the top of the wall, if you're wondering. You enter through a door that's rather beautifully framed by ice. You climb a slightly terrifying ladder to get all the way to the top of the wall, or in midway points, depending. And that is how they get the incredible shots. So make sure you go and follow the UIAA Climbing Tour Instagram. It's on my Instagram, Macroom1, if you want to go check that out. You don't know where it is. And it's got some wonderful pictures of the action from the last couple of days. And remember, there was the ice climbing competition in Ure as well last couple of days.
There was.
Worth catching up on. Yeah, it was different from this structure. So Marion will go next. That's what I'm being informed. So she's had a 20-minute rest, which is the time that she has to have. And I wonder who the belayer will be when she comes out. I'd imagine it wouldn't be the same person, but we'll have to see. Is it someone different? I'm more interested now if it's a different belayer than anything else. It is a different belayer, I think. Right, well, I think that's fair enough, to be honest. Right, Marion will go again. She only got a couple of holds in, and she's the kind of lady as well who uses a bit of that anger sometimes, you know. She is feisty, and I think she'll just use that slight irritation to boost her up the wall. That's my theory, anyway. Sticking with it. She's surrounded by judges at the moment, so everyone's trying to consolidate her.
They want to make
see it there. And she will really want to take her time through here, and why not? Because this is her moment in the spotlight. Just 2 women to go before we have crowned our champion. That does mean Woon Shin is guaranteed a podium place after that incredible performance. And I still think it's going to take some beating. Right, jacket off, business time for Marion. So experienced. She very kindly came and did the co-commentating for the speed competition with me in Korea, because I needed to learn some facts from her, so thank you as well, Marianne. She's been a constant source of information for me over the last couple of comps, so thank you very much. Right, into the Stein pool straight away. Want to be nice and positive after that issue earlier on. Up towards the first hold, sorry, the first quick draw. Makes sure of that wrap, and this is where she had the issue the first time. Let's hope it doesn't happen again for the sake of the B-layers. Reaching up high. And yeah, as you said, Marianne, very experienced. This will be something that she's used to dealing with issues, especially this year. It seems like everything's gone wrong. Her van turbo blew the other day and apparently crawled up the hill to get here, so it's all go for her.
There's always something going on the tour.
There is. She's currently leading the tour as well. 2.94 is her score. Apparently also her van heater died, so she's not only might not be able to get out of here, but she's going to freeze to death in the van. So spare a thought for her tonight, will you? God, that's a horrible thought. I'm going to be in a warm bed later on, not her. Well, hopefully she can get through this section. Wraps that right hand around. There's a mission for her to get here as well. A day and a half on the road. This just keeps stacking up. It really does. But so we need things to come together for Marianne. So if you're watching at home, I don't care if you support the Netherlands or not, make sure you're cheering for her. She needs a bit of support up this wall. Nice smooth clipping down low. I saw Woon Shin really motor through this section. Marianne slightly slower, taking her time through it. Wrapping that axe around as well. Alright, well, she's up towards the business end now. Nervy moments, of course, and do remember that nothing is secure in this sport. I mean, we can be saying how incredible she's doing or not, and then suddenly she'll be gone. But this is very strange. She's very low on this, and that grip that high up on the pick is a nervy one. Now she moves through it and will apply more force to the bottom. One long quick draw to go, and a big Steinpool coming up in a moment. Yeah, a little bit slower through this section. Now up to the Steinpool, and we'll expect her to clip and shake a little bit here. And you can see that's a good shot to show how deep it is. It is a good hold.
Yes, it is.
Of course, the setters will play around with that, and the floating Steinpool is a thing. I'm sounding more and more German every time I say Steinpool. I've got to rein it in. I keep going Steinpool. I keep thinking of beer now. It's an issue. I need to get my head in the game. Right, Marianne will go across. I love this sequence. Everyone seems to have done it a different way. Marianne, more traditional perhaps, getting the fig 4s and 9s in order to traverse across. Locks it off. Loops that leg over. Oh, it's awkward as she wiggles that crampon out. And a flick of the hands as well. Keep your questions coming on the live chat, remember. If you've got anything you want to know about ice climbing, if something is confusing you, baffling you, let us know. Haven't had anyone saying they're a first-timer, though, but I presume you are out there somewhere. Right, drops underneath the rope, and we'll now make this transition onto the ice here. Again, a bit of an issue getting that right crampon out, which is okay. Starts to go across. Grabs that draw, just putting it in the correct position for her. Waits for it to swing back. I'm always impressed by the way that you guys manage to manage everything, because I mean I can barely clip when I'm rock climbing, let alone hold an ice axe in my mouth while I'm doing it. It's so impressive.
I think we've all been tangled up, and you learn from those experiences and make sure to not get into them.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm glad you're all human as well. Well, she's got a very low grip, and we'll shake that hand out one more time before committing to this move. It's a big one coming up. She flicks the axe into the correct position, stands up strong. That core will be really performing as she goes into that floating Steinpool, less restful and a very steep angle for her. Jan Havel asked a brilliant question, in fact, on YouTube. He's saying, how do the setters decide how much time they give the athletes? Yeah, because it does change the time, doesn't it, depending on the routes?
Yeah, but not very much. We've kind of standardized that. The UIAA has done that, and so the route setters really are working towards a 6-minute final. And so they adjust that to try to get the athletes up high within that time and make sure that somebody can top 1 or 2.
Good to know. Yeah, it does change a little bit, but yeah, not so much. So hope that's answered your question, Jan. Marianne doing very, very well here, though. She's got time, not quite as much as Woon Shin did, but it doesn't really matter because of the placement. She's qualified in a higher position, so if she tops the route, she should jump her.
No, it does go to
no,
time.
Of course. Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say the time does matter here. So,
yeah.
And I don't think that she has a way to beat Woon Shin's time here. Okay,
well, that's good to know. And there is her husband Dennis, who I've talked about a lot, who will be looking, he's checking the clock, shouting up, look at him, checking, making sure he'll know what she needs to aim for. But yeah, it's going to be a huge task to try to beat that. Marianne maybe starting to get a little pumped here. Yeah, a couple of moments of hesitation, not quite in the correct position for her. Shakes out. Right, out she goes again. Commits to the move this time, into the volume, coming up to the minute mark. She's currently sitting in bronze. This is multitasking on the bottom right, taking photos and reading the time, I think. It's all go. All right, Marianne, what a performance this was. After all that difficulties at the beginning, I'd love to see her top this. She deserves to do so. Leans on the axe, another shake with the hands. How pumped is she getting, though? How good is that right pick? She needs to trust it, and does as she gets into a better hole. That will allow her to swing her feet over towards the left. Last couple of quick draws to go, but not a lot of time left here. Dennis is going crazy down at the bottom right. Good find by our camera team, this one. Right, she's on the low hold. Dennis counts the final seconds away. Marianne will get timed out before the top. I think she'll want to finish it anyway. Why not? From a good competitor, shakes her head. And we have only got one more woman to come. Just getting a hand there with the with that figure 8 knot. Got to use a figure 8 in the same way as sport climbing. You have to. Drops that down, and she'll go back to the warmth of isolation. We switch our attention over to the men once more, and this is Jonathan Arthur Brown from Switzerland, who will get us underway. Takes a deep breath, wearing those red colours of Switzerland. Six and a half minutes on the clock. Yeah, this is Jonathan, not Louna, as it says on that one, because of that order change that we had earlier on. Just to let you guys know at home. Right, over to some good holds down low. Actually climbed that bottom half really smoothly. Looked good down low. I know it can be tricky.
His second qualification today was just a piece of art to watch, and it was so fun. He topped it very quickly, just cruised the whole thing, and
so hopefully he'll have something in the tank. It didn't work too hard during qualification, which is good. We do have a first timer listening. Gavin, hello. I think he's the first timer watching because he is setting for the UK round, so I hope he's not a first timer for ice climbing, but maybe a first timer to the broadcast. So welcome. I'm glad you can join us. That UK round in Sunderland. All right, hooks up. It does need to be careful not to kick his own axe off here. He's very high on this big fort. But that just shows you how much height you can gain by using it. Yeah, the Swiss, very strong. Benjamin Bossard is another one to keep an eye on if you're a fan of the Swiss team. He's very, very good as well. Jonathan getting that high Stein pull locked in, then moves the feet up to bring that body through. Looking underneath, making the match, just making sure of it. And we get a lot of that, don't we? Athletes kind of literally looking at the hold and trying to work it out, because it's hard to see from the ground sometimes what it's like.
Yeah, and on this structure, with the routes being in the dark, it can be really hard to see what exactly the holds are.
Yeah, that's a good point. They do observe it in the last bit of daylight, but now, as you can see, it's black. The wall lit up by multiple spotlights throughout, so the athletes will be able to see, but you can see those shadows that are sometimes cast on the wall. It can be a bit confusing for them. He's trying to hook sort of sideways around here. That's not the most, well, it worked for him there, but took a couple of swings. Has a nice locked in side pull, hitting the ice high above his head. A spray of ice around him must be a bit cold for him in the darkness there. Fumbling a bit for that clip, gets it locked in. And that's the thing with those extended draws. We obviously need them to stop the rope drag, but it can be quite difficult to clip them because they swing around a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not ideal. Giving me clipping nightmares of some of these athletes occasionally. Hello to Berger 46400. Go LA indeed. Encouraging our climbers on. Right, searches for the pick placement now. Swings out. Big kick in to the overhanging section of the wall there. He'll want the ice to come soon. Right, eyes the ice, kicks in, drops down easily, and looking super confident. And now we will see him speed through this section as expected. It's pretty easy for them, that ice, and yeah, straight through, no hesitation. Someone's asking what's the Dutch version of alley. I have no idea what the Dutch version of alley is. I want to know, actually. Let me know if anyone knows the Dutch version of alley. We're seeing a lot of alleys. I know most of the other countries. I know the gambas from Japan. There's loads of them. I can now think of none apart from gamba and alley, but you know what I mean.
Venge from the Spanish, yep. The alley is really the generic one that can be used for everybody, though.
Oh, and a slip, though. Drags himself down the rope. And that was a big slip and a fall. We'll see that in a replay in a sec, but disappointment for him. I'm just being told that Garn apparently is the Dutch version for alley. Thank you to our team who are apparently listening to me, and I would presume Googled that. Right, let's because I don't know they speak Dutch. Right, well, let's see where the moment happened for him. He was looking good through. It was an error. Yes, something was that left pick, wasn't it? And yeah, disappointment, but I mean, sometimes a fall like that, I guess, you know, you can't do a lot about that when it happens. It's just one of those things. And it has moved us quickly on to our final competitor, though. Cena takes off the down jacket, and she is a real potential to win this competition.
Absolutely. She was the only one to top the qualification route within time. Woon Shin and Haruku were also very close, but timed out at the top.
Cena Gertz, for someone who is so badass, is really understated as well. Like, she's quite quiet when she's walking around the stadium, and then, you know, you watch her on an ice wall, and it's like her personality explodes out at you. Really cool to watch her climb. Cena Gertz is underway, smashing through. She'll know she'll have to climb quickly as well.
She's another one that spent a number of years in the youth championships and is climbing in the adult World Cups now.
Yeah, that youth championships is such a good feeder series to this, so it's well worth watching if you want to. She's currently sitting in 5th on the Live Cup standings. Marina van der Steer on top spot after that performance we just saw with 3.27, so a bit behind. Do remember that not all the athletes will compete at all the events. For some of them it's their sort of goal for the season, others not so much, so it's not a requirement that they do them all. Cena Gertz, as our camera pans in through the woods, a beautiful place to go climbing. Look at that. Right, up towards a good hook, kicking the feet round. Nice performance from her. Cena Gertz is doing well here. Nice moves through as she approaches the top. So, cruising at the moment as we'd expect from an athlete of her caliber here. That axe pick is fully wrapped up, and that is another difference you'll see if you've got tools at home and you do some mountaineering. These athletes will wrap most of the axe, and in order to bite or hold different bits of it, it's grippier on the tape, obviously, than metal.
Yeah, that's something that's very unique, athlete to athlete. I like having a bit of cushion up on the top to bite, so I put some tennis tape under some hockey tape to protect it. But everybody has their own preferences and version of their wrapping.
I'm learning so much about the technicalities of this sport. It's brilliant. So Cena Gertz is beneath the overhang here, reaches up high. Which method of the many will she choose? I can't wait to see. She goes for this flexible thing that we saw before, then goes back to the method that Marion van der Steen did earlier on. Reaches out towards the left here, flicks that foot over, no rope tangle, really smooth through here, minimal faff. That's good work. And as we discussed earlier, she'll likely to clip this once she's on the axe, clip back behind her, and there she does. She's motoring as well, knows speed is important here. Nice hit of the axe as she makes that transition around the corner, locked in on that left axe, and shaking out her hands as she approaches this next section, which really is the business end of this route, as we discussed. It burns you out down low, but this is where things get technical and hard, and look how much climbing she has to go, all the way up towards the top of the structure and then all the way left towards the final holds, but she has got a lot of time, 4:15 on the clock.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
So quick from her, eh? I mean, training speed like that, I mean, how do you train? Is it just a case of simply just trying to climb quicker? Or, you know, like, how do you get faster on a speed wall?
Yeah, I mean, you start timing and videoing yourself, and then, yeah, you just have to move. And you start by, you know, as soon as you have the hold, then you try to speed up your foot placements. And then, because you don't want to rush actually putting your axe on the hold.
Yeah, it's a fine line, isn't it? I mean, you're right about the rushing thing, I think, because if you rush, you know, you can make mistakes.
Just commit to that hold. You know, occasionally you'll see them know that they've taken it wrong and adjust, but when they're on it, they just go. Mm-hmm. There's no, like, second guessing whether the hold is good or anything.
Yeah, they just know, don't they? And yeah, that's worth watching out for, thank you, because you're right. And look how smooth that ball is that she's on as well. And we do have slippy holds in the same way in this sport as any other sport. It's, there's certain holds. There was a red hold from the qualification round. I saw 3 people in a row slide off, you know. It's yeah.
Every year we get some new holds, and in general, everybody will be like, oh, that's impossible, they're horrible, and then everybody trains on them that year and comes back next year and just crushes them.
You don't want to tell the route setters they're impossible. They'll do it more. I tell you, they're evil people sometimes. Right, well, she's into some hard sections here. This box has caused some problems. Finds the right hole, wiggles it in, makes sure of that pick placement. Oh, and falls as I said that. Oh, that box, it is a nightmare of a hold and causing issues for a lot of people. Cena comes down, which means that Woon Shin wins this competition. After that, disappointment for Cena. She definitely had more in the tank, but a fall causing her to slip. Let's watch this. She was cruising down low. Good work to make her way through these moves, releasing that Steinpull nicely, wrapping the fingers around, but let's see, lost the feet here, managed to get it back on, of course, and a shake out, but maybe that burnt her out for this next sequence. Hopefully we get to see this. Watch that. Oh, it just went, didn't it?
Yeah, I think she just pulled down a little more than pushing into it before she was fully weighted on it.
And that's what can happen. Well, there we go. End of the women's competition. One man to go. Someone's asking me a question. Am I going to add ice climbing to your training routine? I do a fair bit of it, to be honest. I live in Champagny. I do a lot of mixed climbing, a lot of alpine climbing, and I've done a fair amount of dry tooling in my time, but not currently, so maybe I should add it in. We'll see. Anyway, the more important person is Louna who is out, and this man is not only a lovely human being, he's a 9A sport climber, he's an incredible ice climber, he does it all. I said he was in the Red Bull dual ascent a couple of months ago. He was incredible in that. I mean, is there anything he can't do? It's wonderful, isn't it?
No, I don't think there is anything he can't do.
Yeah, so experienced. He is the favourite to win here tonight, despite only doing 7 training sessions, apparently. So let's see. Well, despite maybe wanting this season to be a restful season, he's going to want to win here tonight. He's competitive as anything. When he's out there under the lights, he's going to be giving it his all.
His energy is always wonderful to have around, and
yeah, it's good to see. Like, you know, this sport is tricky. I understand that, you know, funding is hard, but having stars like him turn up at events like this, I think, is really good for the sport. So it's nice to have him here.
Absolutely. He was definitely a lot of trouble as a youth.
Trouble, I like that. Oh, well, he's reaching up high now, doing some good moves down low, super positive with those foot. He has this style of kicking where it's kind of like yeah, that 1, 2, 3. Oh, but a slip as I say it. He's okay though. Yeah, he'll be down low on the standings for the European Cup, having not done that many, if any, this season. He's won overall titles, world championships. He's done a lot in this sport, but maybe a little bit less fit than he would normally be. So let's see. His brother is currently on the top spot, 31, standing up really high on that Steinpull. Tell that they're used to climbing really fast, picking up the pace when you need to. Alright, Louna here. Make sure of that. Cuts loose with the feet. Good core strength to pull up that fig 4 nice and smoothly. There's another hook. Down to the ice. Super smooth through that difficult section for Louna. But we saw some falls in this next part, so we still want him to be careful here. Down on the ice. Barely pausing at all, just a little moment to get the correct axe placement. Goes quite high here on the ice. 3 minutes 58.
Obviously feeling strong and flowing through this, so.
There is his brother. That's so good to see with Rob from the UIAA. So Tristan, although of course he'll want to win, he's encouraging his brother on. I'm not sure I'd be as encouraging if I had a sibling out there on the wall, but we'll see. Yeah, Tristan will have been through this. He knows what his brother is currently going through, and that, I think, makes him one of the most empathetic people in the stadium currently. He literally knows what's happening right now, but this is smooth from Louna. He's still got 3 minutes on the clock. Crazy about the time left.
Yeah, he's really cruising this.
He is, but he needs to be careful, not make mistakes. Works that left leg out. And that little flick, he was working his left leg out of a difficult position whilst he was making a move with the hands. It's that experience. He's got plenty of time left, though, and a final sequence to go. This is where Tristan started to have problems. Tristan is on his feet down at the bottom right. He's shouting him on. He knows what's coming. He knows how much time he's got left. It's just a question of getting this done now. Works that rope through. The rope drag will be horrendous through there. Makes the clip. Only one clip to go and a few moves. Louna, for almost the first time, pauses to consider this next sequence. It's not that obvious.
No, and I'm sure that they all had a plan when they got up here, and we haven't seen anybody feel confident with their plan.
Yeah, it's a hard last crux to finish things off for the man. He leans on that axe. You've got to trust it. Look how thin these holds are now. Bad feet as well. He's approaching Tristan.
Beautiful.
That is, according to the score at the moment, that is in the lead. But this is a tricky fig four. Locks it in. Final hold. It's a good one. He'll trust it. Needs to make the clip and match, and I think Louna, once again, as we've seen him done so many times, will top this route out and take victory. Not bad for an athlete who is not really competing this year. And that celebration at the top we've seen him do before. He picks a photographer and just screams at them, and so expect some awesome photos tomorrow. Well, Lena Beck takes victory here in Champagny at Vanoise. Let's see how he did it, shall we? This was his transition through the roof. Nice and clean, dropping down. And it's that thing you were saying earlier about committing to sequences. He's really doing that. And this was the hard moves that once he trusted this axe placement and got that final jug. You knew it was done. That was after his scream, but still screaming.
What a beautiful piece of climbing.
It's just annoyingly talented, isn't it? It's just outrageous. It should be banned. But there he is with his brother. They'll share the podium later on. And lots of celebrations all round. And we should take this moment as well to thank everyone who's been involved in this. From you guys, the athletes and the coaches, to the belayers and route setters, and our TV crew. As our MC interviews him behind the scenes. And we're pretty close to finishing things off here. So a reminder of our next few World Cups as we look at the standings. This is the World Cup standings, or World Cup standings. So Marion van der Steen is in the lead, 3-2-7, ahead of Anetta, who drops down. She was in the lead, having come second in Ure. As we pan our eyes down, we can see how that's affected the standings. We'll check out the men's as well. Javier still on the top spot. Good performance from him tonight. He's leading the way as we come down. And then, of course, the Louna Ladevin brothers on 100 points after that victory, but they haven't competed in many, so that's what explaining that. Yeah, so next couple of weeks, Sasfay is coming next. Famous event there. Really, really cool. So that will be coming next Friday. You can join us for the action. So we're going to say goodbye. Thank you so much for joining me in the commentary box here this evening.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure. And we will see you guys very soon for more ice climbing action. Thank you for watching. And before we go, check out the On Thin Ice teaser. It's a great documentary which is coming soon. See you later, everyone.
I don't know, you keep wanting to go back and you can never stop.
I've been dreaming of winning World Cups, or at least being able to stand on the podium of a World Cup.
What makes a champion? I mean, I think it's about kind of being able to perform at the highest level and dealing with some fair...
With the place until you're at the top. Yeah, last season was almost like a comedy show.
That kind of hate each other.